Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're doing something really cool. We are literally demystifying tarot. We're going to go on this fascinating, chronological journey to uncover exactly how hidden truths can be revealed through what is, honestly, a pretty misunderstood practice. And we're going to do it by following a real-world case study, step by step.
But first, I want you to think about this. How do you resolve a conflict when everyone is pushing in completely different directions? You know that feeling, right? It's a situation most of us are intimately familiar with. Whether it's tension at the workplace or a deep disagreement in our personal lives, being stuck in that kind of emotional tug-of-war is incredibly draining. I want you to keep that specific, exhausting kind of conflict in mind, because that is the exact hurdle our protagonist, Lee Hanson, is facing as he walks through the doors of a small shop in Lockwood, Washington, desperately looking for some clarity.
Okay, let's dive into this. Lee arrives for a noon appointment at the Otherside. It's a tarot parlor run by Lucretia Eddy. Lucy has been in business for 6 years at this shop and reading tarot since 1995, so she definitely knows her stuff. Her insights are actually known to be remarkably spot on. As Lee walks in, Lucy sets the tone immediately. She offers her space as a sanctuary for positive vibrations. She's instantly transforming what could just be a standard business transaction into a safe, welcoming space designed to put Lee completely at ease.
Lucy leads Lee into the reading room itself. Picture this. It's a cozy 12 by 12 square room with a dark green carpet, antique pictures, these incredibly patterned tapestries, a crystal ball, and a single candle resting in a rose quartz holder. The vibes are immaculate. And, we absolutely can't forget the shop's unofficial co-host. That would be Casey, a large black cat named after the famous seer Edgar Cayce. Casey meows distinctly at Lee and rubs right up against his leg. Clearly, if you want a reading here, you gotta pass the feline vibe check first.
Once Lee is comfortably seated opposite Lucy's ornate reader's chair, the practical mechanics of the session begin. And it's a fascinating process to watch. Lucy charges a standard fee of $40 for an hour-long reading. But to track this time, she doesn't just set an iPhone alarm. She flips this beautiful antique hourglass, verbally inviting the spirits in advisement for 1 hour, and lights her candle. She then asks Lee to place his fingers on the deck of 78 cards and make a silent wish, basically a desire to learn something of real value. After shuffling, Lucy uses what she calls the fishbowl method. She loosely scatters the cards all over the table and asks Lee to rely entirely on his intuition. He just lets his hand be guided, almost automatically, to fish out his cards.
And this brilliantly illustrates the exact framework Lucy chooses for Lee. Rather than using some overly complex layout with 10 different positions, she opts for a highly focused 3-card spread: the situation, the obstacle, and the advice. She believes that keeping it straightforward provides the clearest path forward. So Lee draws his 3 cards from that scattered pile and places them face down. As Lucy turns them over, the narrative of Lee's current life struggle is instantly laid out on the table. We are going to look at each of these cards individually because it is so cool to see exactly how they piece together Lee's puzzle.
All right, so the very first card, representing Lee's situation, is the Five of Wands. Lucy explains that this is a minor arcana card. In tarot, the minor arcana generally deals with everyday practical matters and temporary situations. The Five of Wands specifically signifies conflict, competition, and tension. It basically paints a picture of a rivalry or a disagreement where everyone is pushing in different directions. Well, the moment Lucy explains this, it totally validates Lee's experience. He admits to her that she is spot on. He confirms that he is currently dealing with serious friction, whether that's at work or in his personal life. He is stressed. The cards hit the nail on the head. They correctly diagnose the baseline issue right out of the gate.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how the second card functions. This represents Lee's obstacle, and he draws the High Priestess. Unlike the previous card, this is a major arcana card. That means it deals with powerful, overarching core themes in a person's life, not just day-to-day squabbles. The High Priestess is the ultimate symbol of intuition, the subconscious and deep inner knowledge. But, and here's the kicker, because it showed up in the obstacle position, it means Lee's main challenge is that he's over-relying on logic. He's actively ignoring his gut. He's refusing to face the intuitive answers he already knows deep down.
Which brings us to the advice card, the Knight of Cups. This knight is basically the romantic messenger of empathy. He moves with his heart, not his sword. Notice the stark visual contrast happening here. Lee's instinct to overcome his conflict has been to use pure logic, to fight back, to meet aggression with sharp blades. Actually, scratch that. It's more like he's trying to out-argue everyone. But the card's advice is the exact opposite. It's telling Lee to pour cooling water over the situation.
It's advising him to offer a compassionate perspective, to soften the conflict rather than hardening it. Hearing this, Lee has this profound aha moment. He distills the advice perfectly, saying out loud, "Fight fire with water." It's such a brilliant realization. He acknowledges that while it makes total sense on paper, it feels incredibly difficult to execute. I mean, think about your own life for a second. When someone comes at you with fire and aggression, how hard is it to just take a breath and respond with the cooling water of empathy? It goes against every defensive instinct we have. But the reading makes it undeniably clear that continuing to fight fire with fire is exactly what's keeping Lee stuck in this endless, exhausting tension.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because the reading doesn't quite end there. Recognizing the complexity of Lee's situation, Lucy offers him an optional fourth card. She calls it a clarifier, meant to show the potential outcome if Lee actually follows the advice to lead with empathy. Lee's curious, so he immediately agrees. He turns over the top card, revealing a stark, dramatic image, the Three of Swords. Lee frowns, noting that it looks painful. And he's right. A heart physically pierced by 3 swords traditionally represents heartbreak, sorrow, and deep betrayal. Not exactly the happy ending you'd hope for, right?
But Lucy softly explains that context is literally everything in a tarot reading. Because this is a clarifier card meant to show the outcome of following the Knight of Cups advice, its meaning shifts completely. It doesn't mean doom. It means that stepping into empathy and seeking a peaceful resolution won't be magically easy. It's going to require facing some really difficult emotional truths. It might mean admitting he was hurt, or maybe even facing a painful separation. But Lucy imparts this absolutely crucial psychological lesson. By facing that sorrow head-on, he can properly heal. The heartbreak isn't the end of the world. It's actually the necessary catalyst for a genuine resolution. As Lee sits with this explanation, the initial sting of that frightening imagery shifts into deep understanding. He realizes that the pain of resolution, the discomfort of vulnerability, empathy, and emotional truth, is ultimately way better than the chronic, draining pain of an unending battle. The tarot reading gave him the exact clarity he was completely lacking when he walked in from the Lockwood afternoon just an hour prior. It forced him to look directly at the emotional realities he would have much rather swept under the rug. As the last grains of sand fall through the antique hourglass, Lucy extinguishes the candle, concluding the session. She gently reminds Lee that while she believes the divine plays a role, it is ultimately up to him to see how the pieces fit together through his own personal choices. Deeply moved by all this, Lee tries to tip Lucy an extra $5 on top of her $40 fee for pulling that extra clarifier card, but Lucy gently refuses, demonstrating her immense integrity. She strictly adheres to her standard rate. Lee walks away, realizing that the true value of this whole experience wasn't in having his fortune told, but in how the practice served as a powerful mirror. It forced vital self-examination and reconnected him with his own ignored inner wisdom.
So the crucial point is this. The cards are simply a mirror. They reflect what we already know but are often way too afraid to face. Lee left the other side with some heavy emotional work ahead of him, but he finally knew exactly which direction to walk. And I want to leave you with the same challenge. What inner wisdom are you currently ignoring? And what happens if you finally listen to it? Are you fighting your fires with more fire, or are you brave enough to use water? Take a moment to really reflect on that. Until next time, keep exploring the hidden truths in your own life.